Hey, Nicole, the medical mom here. Today I bring you an interview that we had the pleasure of doing. Enjoy.
Yes.
This is the group from Nebraska. They are a small community. How big are your communities? Well over 1,000. Like under 1,000 kids, people. How many in your high school? 200.
100 in high school.
Like preschool through seniors at Friend, there are, I think the last number I saw was like 240 maybe.
Wow. So these guys do an amazing job. They're from a group called FFA, which is Future Farmers of America, correct? Okay. And what they have done is, for years now, they have gone and promoted organ donation awareness. And in that also, they have gone out and collected gift cards. And that's many of the gift cards that we give out during bingo prizes that you guys have played. And just those days that you need a coffee, things like that, birthday gifts, all that kind of stuff. So that's what this group has done today. So they're just here to hear about your stories. I don't really care. Kayla, if you want to themselves and tell a little bit of their background. Keisha and Jordan. Leland.
Us?
Yep.
Oh, hi. she's bumping me like, go, mom. Hi. I'm Nicole Mason, and this is Jalen Mason. Jalen has a long backstory, but I'm gonna try to shorten it. Honestly, we came to Nebraska Med back in September. We were transferring from Pittsburgh, UMPC. We had been out there mostly all of her life. She's 11 now, so gives you a lot of time that we have been on their transplant list. And we got here back in September. September we did the eval. In October they came because she is vascular restricted, and no, everyone told us that she couldn't get any more vessels, and any more line accesses. And it was like, come here, we're going to try to achieve that. That was the stipulation for her to actually get on the transplant list, is for them to have more vascular access above the waist. She has one, but it's in her back, her lower back. So they wanted to try to get one in the chest. That was early October. After the eval in September, that was successful. The 10th of November, we were getting the call for transplant, and she actually received a quadruple transplant: liver, double kidney, pancreas, and small bowel with colon. And we're all the way from Texas, and we're still here at the Ronald McDonald House. So she got her transplant on the 11th. She had to go back in for a couple washouts and some re-triggers and things of that nature. And she came home 2 days before Christmas and been outpatient since.
So a lot of our kids will do what they were just talking about, is evaluation. Either Kayla or Nicole, do you want to explain a little bit what evaluation means?
Sure. She keeps bumping me. Okay, so evaluation is basically the process. I call it the audition, the audition to see if we are candidates to be transplanted. In the duration of it's a week-long process. We came here from Texas and stayed here for a week-long process, from appointments early as 7 a.m. to late as about 4 p.m. There were scans, there was labs, there was meetings with the educational specialist, there was meeting with the psychologist, the financial specialist. I mean, any department in that hospital, I'm pretty sure we met with. There were scans that I have never seen before or heard of before that we took part in, and at the end of that, we got to sit down with the team and just basically tell us what the overall view or what they had taken from everything that we had collected for that week. And it's a vigorous process, but nevertheless, it just tells them what kind of situation we're in and what will be the best possible route for them to go. So that's what I gathered from the evaluation process.
And do you have anything to share about that time? That these kids, prior to even coming to the point of needing a transplant often have a lot of medical procedures, medical care, and so I'm sure you guys are familiar with like IVs and things like that. You see those on TV. Our kids have special tubes. They go into the veins, and there's only so many places in the body and so many times. So if you're a little pumpkin like Jalen and it's a long time has passed, you're going to run out of spots where those will work. And so that's what both Thomas and Jalen's mom were talking about is sooner or later, they've got to make a decision. We got to transplant because we only have so many spaces left that we can give them medicines and the care that they need, or go to transplant. And so in both these families, then it was made a decision to come to transplant, that they indeed could transplant them with the access that they had. What were some of the other stressors that you guys were experiencing during that waiting period? I think, organ donation is very important to this group. They've had people in their town that were both organ donors and organ recipients. And I think just sharing a little bit about what that time is like when you're waiting.
I guess I'm going first. She's bumping me.
Arms.
Y'all see her? So for us, the waiting period was very critical and very crucial because Jalen went through a lot of different things, from sepsis to septic shock to kidney failure. She actually had her first transplant in 2022, where she received a kidney transplant back in Pittsburgh. So without her vascular system, it's not much that they could have done for her without transplants. Just say, for instance, her kidney transplant. Her kidney transplant was given in 2022 to try to prolong her life because she had nowhere to put a dialysis catheter. She was not able to receive dialysis, and with her kidneys going out, going into renal failure, that could have been end stage of life for her. But they decided to make that kidney transplant happen to kind of prolong this and get us to where we are right now. So our waiting period has been like a roller coaster that you want to get off, like exit quickly to the left, don't stop, run. It's been 11 years. She's about to be 12 years old now, and since birth, she was born with gastroschisis, so she was born with her bowel kind of hanging out her gut when she came out of utero, when she was born. So she's been going through this since day one. She's been living off of IV and what you call TPN, total parenteral nutrition, all of her life, and going through different procedures and in and out of the hospital and things of that nature all her life. So the waiting period was long, 11 years 11 years to get where we are today, to where she's off of TPN. She's feeding on, I don't know if you can see it right here, but she's only on formula, and she's actually doing pretty well. So I don't even know what else to say about the waiting period. It was a long time coming. It was definitely a vigorous battle to keep her going, keep things, keep just basically keeping hope alive that she would see the other side of the tunnel.
Here's the question.
Is like with the bowel type of, I don't know if you call it transplant or whatever, is that something where patients eventually get weaned off of the liquid diet, or?
You guys hear that okay?
Fully didn't really understand. Like for my girl, she was on TPN, so she was on IV. She had IV nutrition all of her life. Once she got her bowel transplant and she had a working gut and things of that nature, now we're able to feed her. So she was able to wean off of the IV and get on formula to now we're feeding her stomach and her gut like a normal person. Well, I mean, it's not completely normal because she's living off of fluid via the tube, but she can now feed her gut. She can eat normal food if she chooses to, but because she hasn't eaten all her life, she hasn't been a non-eater all her life. She's always depended on IV needs. So that's something else we have to overcome, to where she can eat by mouth, or chooses to eat by mouth, because she can.
About it. we take a lot of things in our body for granted, and eating seems so natural to us.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've never had that experience in your life, starting from when you're an infant with, just sucking and swallowing and all that kind of stuff, you don't even develop the right muscles. You don't even develop your tongue knowing what to do. And then if you haven't had that sensory experience, because eating is very much a sensory experience, then it becomes very foreign and very uncomfortable for the kids. So one of the hurdles after transplant for a lot of kids, here a little bit, Jalen, you can feel free to hop on, but what kind of things do you like to do? Because I also know that you have a lot of interest and a lot of fun things that you like to do that have nothing to do with the hospital.
I really don't know. I like doing fashion. I like doing art.
So lately she's been into fashion things, designing clothes and putting doll clothes together and kind of drawing and doodling fashion ideas. Tell me what you want to be when you grow up.
I want to be a fashion when I grow up.
She wants to be a fashion model when she grows up.
Our families being so far away from home is one of the biggest challenges. I think that's where a smaller community, knowing that a smaller community out there in Nebraska is supporting these families. You don't know these families, they're not even from your state, but the fact that you're being supportive here in Omaha really helps them have a sense of community. These families also have to sometimes run two different households. They're trying to work sometimes from the bedside, the parents are, or managing rent back home while you're living in Omaha. So, Jalen, do you have some brothers and sisters?
Yes, I have 5 sisters. 5?
You have 2 sisters and
I have 2
sisters and 4 brothers.
and 4 brothers.
Our family dynamic is a little bit different. Jalen is adopted, so she was actually my last adoption. I adopted 4 other medical needs children. So I have 2 biological children and 5 adopted children. Jalen being the last adoption. We have a son with Down syndrome. We have a daughter that has a liver transplant, a son with chronic lung disease with a feeding tube dependent, and we have a daughter with cerebral palsy. So she does have plenty of siblings.
Lots of support in that, I'm sure, when hospitals and medical life are kind of the norm.
Yes. Actually, our support system is very tiny. Me and Dad usually handle it for the most part. We do have a nanny and nursing, so it's really the community that we built around our children. I have a nana that will step in if she absolutely needs to, but it really falls on me and Dad. But I think we manage it really well. Being apart from for this long has been very challenging in different states. I've been to other states for medical care, but I think we're tipping the bucket with this one being away for almost 3 months now. But I think everything is okay. We manage it pretty well. That is very great with the other kiddos.
So when you're in the hospital, do they have tutors? How does schooling work when you're in the hospital or where you are right now?
For us, Nebraska Med was the first hospital that actually offered schooling for us. Any other hospital that we have been in has not had an education program, and I thought that was really unique and really special to kind of zone in on the children's education, because being hospitalized meaning that it is a lot of time from school. I know in 2022, Jalen averaged 274 days inside of the hospital, to where they actually dropped her out of education. She was doing homeschooling, but even with being homeschooling, she missed that amount of time. They would withdraw her completely from public education. And I thought, I mean, the aspect of having a teacher in-house at the hospital was really important because they lose a lot of education and they lose the ability to pick up on those skills and that's necessary to navigate them through life, and they get behind. So I strongly feel like any child that has any special needs or medical needs and they spend a lot of time in the hospital, they do regress on education because they just are not, they're just not equally as exposed to it.
Important things is kids ultimately just want to be kids, just like you guys. You guys just want to be teenagers and do teenagers things. Kids just want to be kids. They don't want to be the kid in the hospital. So school is one of those ways that we can definitely normalize. Like, your education's important. Yeah, you've got all this other stuff going on, but your education is important. In fact, teacher Lisa is over here in the corner.
She's amazing.
I was like, I believe you have your teacher in that room with you.
Absolutely amazing. She's amazing.
Normalization, stimulation, routine, and responsibility. So a lot of those kids that are missing school for that long would rather be in school than here. So they're interested in staying caught up.
What are probably some of the biggest takeaways you want these students when they're talking about, making organ donation awareness? If you're going to go talk to their friends who are outside in the back of that driver's license, what kind of things would you want to share with them about that?
Organ donation is huge because you get to save a life. Honestly, when we got the call for either transplant, I just had to really just go within inside myself and pray, because we know what that means. But to give life, to give my baby a chance, and that makes me emotional.
Us too.
It gives someone else a chance at life, and that may not have that. I know for my sweet girl, she's been fighting all her life, and she's been waiting for that day to receive the gift of life. I mean, waiting, initially she just needed a small bowel, but waiting took a toll on her other organs to where she needed a multiple transplant. So just know that it's going to give someone else a surviving chance, the opportunity that most people take for granted. I'm sorry.
It's happy tears, Jalen. Because you mean that much to Mama.
Yeah. So,
Kayla, what would you have to say? Thomas have to say? Yeah, one question.
Have either of you guys met like your organ donor families, or like how do you go about that?
What about you, Nicole?
I would love to meet him. Just to give them an in-person thanks. To let them know that their baby lives on. And they gave my baby a chance. I would love, if that was the opportunity, I would definitely be open, 100% open to it. What about you? Do you want to meet the person who gave you life? Yeah, we would definitely want to do it. But it starts with the letter. Some families just want to remain anonymous.
Any other questions?
How much longer will she need to be in the hospital?
How much longer at Ronnie House were you guys?
Actually, we don't know. We were told 4 to 6 months. It could even go up to a year, but she's doing really well. We're 2.5 months post transplant. Labs look good. We're just tweaking medicine back and forth. So I guess once she gets to a new norm, a new baseline where all of her meds are situated and things of that nature, maybe we can look at that. So I got my fingers crossed for another month or so. I don't think we're going to reach the 4-month mark.
So as you can imagine, kids that come here for a kidney transplant, sometimes with a kidney transplant, it will be a living donor, like maybe from a relative, because you got 2 kidneys, so you got 1 to give. Those kids typically aren't in the hospital as long. Liver transplants, we've been doing those for years now. They've kind of got a lot of that worked out, but when you start looking at small bowels, which are very fragile, when you look at small bowels, they're very fragile, and there's a lot of components that go into that as far as getting them to absorb the nutrition. We don't think of our small bowels. We think of hearts, we think of lungs, all that stuff. That small bowel is hugely important because that's where we get all of the things we need for our body to go, to run, to have energy out of that food that's absorbed through the small bowel. So there's just a lot of medicines and a lot of things to adjust on a regular basis. So the kids like that at Ron McDonald House will come back frequently. There are things that can happen, as Kayla mentioned. Thomas was all the way back and then bam, had to come right back to the hospital. In that first year or 2, there's a lot of those ups and downs, a lot of bumps in the road. But eventually our goal is those kids that are out there in the world, if we get to see them come back, a few years later, and they're looking fantastic. Just looking at Jalen today, and I haven't seen her for a while, she looks amazing. And that's the stuff that keeps us going, doing what we're doing here with the kids in the hospital.
Is there, once you've had either like a tissue or a organ transplant, is like your incidence of having to have that organ or that tissue retransplanted at some point in your life? Like, is that high or?
I know for kidney, it's fairly high for retransplant. I would let these 2 experts answer that better on. I don't know about the incidence, the percentages. I don't have that background in knowing with like small bowel and multi-organ.
I mean, that is a very good question. I actually don't know the answer to that. I do know that we had to receive a kidney due to her not having a working gut. The gut absorbs, I mean, your life essentially. And without her having a working gut, it kept on killing her kidneys. Her kidneys kept on taking on too much calcium to basically to sustain. So they basically mummified. They became hard rocks to where like her natural kidneys couldn't even be biopsied because that's how hard they had became from the amount of calcium. And your gut a normal person gut would have absorbed that calcium and processed it out her body, but her body was holding on to it. So second time kidney transplant, sometimes it is definitely necessary. It all depends. My prayers for her is that now that her gut is working and she can metabolize and get the proper nutrition to the right organs and things of that nature, she'll do a little bit better, and hopefully we can prolong another transplant.
A lot of faith and a lot of trust that goes into having your child have a transplant, and that's just how most of these families have to live every day, with just that faith and that trust and that hope that things just keep going well. All right, any final things before we sign off today that you'd like to share, Galen?
Cole's favorite thing to do at the hospital.
Oh, favorite thing to do in the hospital.
What was your favorite thing to do in the hospital?
There really ain't a favorite thing to do in the hospital.
Huh?
There's really nothing favorite about the hospital.
It's nothing favorite about the hospital.
No, you don't have to blame me on that.
But did you enjoy seeing anybody? No? You didn't like when Child Life came?
You play some bingo
I
with
can't
us?
like that.
It's okay. What about bingo and
No.
crafts? Yeah. Did you enjoy when Santa came? Okay, there is some things.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for sharing your stories and joining us today. It was good to see you.
Absolutely.
Keep doing well.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for also for what you guys do. We appreciate you.
Thank you for joining us. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you soon.